Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be a short one but a sweet one, and one that you requested, and this is gonna be the ranking of my 2020 eyeshadow palettes. And I got more palettes than I thought I did. So if you wanna see how I rank them and which one ends up being my favorite, because I do this as I go and I do this with you, then just keep on watching. When I was checking out my collection to see what palettes came into my life last year, I ended up with 10 eyeshadow palettes. A few of them were gifted to me on PR. A few of them, one of them I think, I purchased with points at Ulta and ended up paying only $17 for that one. And then the rest of them, one was a gift from my mom and the rest of them I purchased. So I have here 10 eyeshadow palettes and I just want to rank them with you guys. Okay, so I have them all right next to me, and what I want to do is grab one, and then the way that I do it is that I keep in mind the color scheme, how much I use it, how much I want to reach for it, whether I have used it or not, how much I want to reach for it, because I keep in mind always that I've been doing project pans, so I don't focus on a new palette even if I want to, if I'm focusing on products that I need to finish or need to pan on my projects. That's why I wanted to change the mode for this year to a shop my stash type of year, because sometimes I forget about the things that I have just by focusing on a few things that I need to finish. And I'm hoping that my makeup looks nice because it's already 10 p.m. and I've worn these all day. I'm gonna show them in the order in which I got them. So in February of last year, I went to the US and I purchased these 3 palettes. The first one is the Mercier eyeshadow palette by ABH. And this is a beautiful palette. This is one of those palettes that I thought was gonna be the one and all for my ABH, and that was gonna beat the other palettes that I would use, because it has a mixture of the soft Glam and then it has a little bit of the Nurbina palette. But the truth is, I basically haven't used this all year because I've been so focused on my Natasha Denona shadows that I completely put this palette aside and didn't use it. And then this is competing with the Huda Beauty Nude Medium palette, which is one that I really love, and I love the color scheme of this one. It's so beautiful, it's so me, and it's so makeup artistry kid bridal that I'm obsessed with it. I have a big dip on this one and I have a small dip on this one, and I've used this one as well, and I truly love the tones of this one. I wanted to get the light and the deep as well, but I had to choose between all of them. And then on February I also purchased the Natasha Denona Love palette. And this one has pan on 3 shades, but that doesn't mean that this one is gonna be my favorite, because these 3 shades that I hit pan on were part of a big palette, and these eyeshadows that I hit pan on were complementing the eyeshadows that I was using on that palette. Not to say that I don't love this palette, it's just that I don't love it as much when it comes to the color scheme as these two. So this one is gonna be in the bottom, even though it has my favorite formula of eyeshadow. If I had to repurchase, or if I had a choice between all of these, this one wouldn't be the one that I would choose, except for the fact that it's Natasha Denona. Then Mercier on top of that, and then the Huda Nude Medium palette. It's going on the first place. Then I got sent on PR the Urban Decay Naked Ultraviolet. For the PR list of Urban Decay, they send you something that you need to fill out, but they don't tell you the product that they're gonna send you. They tell you that it's an eyeshadow palette, but you don't know what it's gonna be. So I didn't know that this was gonna be a violet palette. I'm not that into purples. I've been falling in love with them more and more for the past 2 months, but I'm not crazy about purples. If you bring me an all purple palette, that's why the Love palette is ranked the lowest, because that's not my favorite color scheme or the eye look that I wear the most. I wear peaches, I wear brown colors, I wear mauves, but purple is not my favorite to wear on my eyes, and green either. This one is a violet palette, and then it has these everyday colors, but I'm not gonna be reaching for a big palette just for 5 shades and then not use the rest of them. It's just a palette that doesn't call my name. Not only the color scheme is not that great, is that I used it twice since I got it, for a tutorial and then for a live that I did on my Instagram. And that's it, and I haven't used it. I noticed that the 2 times that I used it, it wasn't so pigmented, and I get that it's part of the Naked line, but I've heard great things about the Naked Honey that I don't have, about the Naked Heat that I don't have, and they're pigmented and they're beautiful. And this one for me, it wasn't living up to the expectations that I have because I've had before, and the reason why I fell in love with eyeshadow and high-end eyeshadow was the Urban Decay Naked palettes. For those reasons, this is gonna be underneath the Love palette. So this is right now in the bottom part of the list. Then summer was here, and with it, the Bronze palette by Natasha Denona. This is a beautiful palette. I've hit pan on one shade, and I just love a lot of the colors of this palette. I have to be honest, and I need to tell you guys something that I've realized over the past, I think, 3 or 4 months. I'm not into warm tones as much as I was in the past. I was so crazy about oranges. I was so crazy even about goldy, bronzy colors. And now when I wear gold or too much yellow or yellow tone colors or warm tone colors on my eyes, I feel like they don't suit me well enough. And I know I'm an overall cool tone type of person when it comes to the color of my eyes, my hair, and my skin. Even though I love warm colors, and even though this is gonna be ranking on top of a few of the palettes that I have, in a way, I think I would use more the Love palette than this one, because this one gives me an overall super warm tone look that even though I love in theory, I don't love as much as I used to. So this is gonna go underneath the Huda Nude Medium, underneath the Amazing palette, and then on top of the Love palette, because on my mind, I still love this color scheme more. This has more of the transition shades that I love. It has a deeper shade that I can use as a black or instead of a black. And then it has these browns right here. But all these golden colors, they're not my favorite to use. I have to make them work in a way or incorporate them into a dark or a black deep look, but I don't wear oranges or bright warm colors as I used to, feeling as comfortable as I used to in the past. So this is gonna go underneath Amazing on top of the Love palette. And then came the Glam palette, and this is so beautiful. I really like this palette. It's something that's different in my collection, and that I was mentioning to you guys that I love that it's cool tone when I got it, but then also that this was gonna be a sister palette to my Viva palette, which is basically my most used Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. Even when it was on the Panda palette that I created, the Franken palette, I would reach for the eyeshadows from that palette a ton. I think I have 6 pans on that one. So this is one of the newest ones that I have from Natasha Denona, and even though the color scheme doesn't seem to call my name when I look at it, even though in my mind I'm not a cool tone type of girl, when I wear these colors, I feel my best. So for that reason, this is gonna be on top of the Nude Medium Huda palette. So this is gonna be ranking on top as the top palette of the year so far. Then this little baby came to me. This is the Laura Mercier Prima Ballerina Mini Eyeshadow Palette. And this is so different for me. I have never tried Laura Mercier eyeshadows before this one. And I have to say, I don't know if all of their eyeshadows are this formula, because this is such a weird formula, but it's such a nice formula and such a beginner-friendly formula that it blew my mind. I wasn't expecting it. Even though the color scheme is not what I would go towards, it's still a cool tone type of eyeshadow palette. Even though it has a purplish tone to it, it's not completely purple as the Ultraviolet or even as the Love palette by Natasha Denona. But what I want to show you from this one, even if it's not gonna rank the highest, is that these eyeshadows right here are beautiful toppers. I know you guys can see them on camera. These are basically a sheer base type of eyeshadow, and not all of them are, because they have a few in the bottom that are more pigmented. These two right here are more pigmented, but these two are toppers, and they blew my socks off, because you can put them on top of any eyeshadow that you have and they will change the look. But they're so thin and so seamless that they're gonna look as if you had a sheen on top of your eyeshadow, but in the most expensive way possible. So they look like basically, I don't know if you can see them there, but they look like basically nothing. So sheer and beautiful, but they look beautiful on top of other shadows. And the other eyeshadows, they were like putty eyeshadows, and they also blend it beautiful on the eyes. So this is a beautiful palette. The color scheme is again not my favorite, but I prefer it than a lot of them. The fact that it has only 6 shadows, it's gonna be something that I don't love that much about the palette, because I prefer bigger palettes, not extremely big, but bigger palettes. This is gonna rank underneath the Love palette, because even though I love it, this is not a palette that I could get that much use out of. Even if I could get use out of these 2 shades and this one, this pink is so beautiful, I wouldn't be able to just pull out an entire look out of this eyeshadow palette. And I love just going to one eyeshadow and having an overall look. Even if I mix eyeshadow palettes, I love to have the choice to do an entire eye look without having the need to dip into other palettes. And this doesn't give me that, but I prefer the formula of this one than the ultraviolet so far. And then I purchased the last 3 palettes of the year. And they are my Trio Chrome by Natasha Denona, the Natural Nudes by Too Faced, and the Naughty palette by Huda. And I love these palettes so much. It was a process for me to purchase them. I thought about them a lot. When I had to purchase the Glam palette, I didn't have to think about it. The bronze one, I didn't have to think about it. The Love one even, I was in store, I saw it, I wanted it. I love the pink packaging. I knew that I would play with the pinks because I love pinks so much. And it was another Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. And it had wearable shades as well. So I knew I was gonna pick that one up. It came to me super quickly. Then again, for the nude one and then the Amor Easy one, they were all easy picks. For me to go and just buy 3 eyeshadow palettes in one purchase, that's not something that I do lightly nowadays. It's not something that I take lightly either. So I had to think about it. I'm gonna just go through them and tell you why I'm ranking them the way that I am as I go. So the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. This one I saw, I think, when it was released, but then I didn't want to purchase it because I thought it was Too Faced. Maybe the eyeshadow formula wasn't as good as the ones that I love the most, which are Anastasia and Natasha Denona. And then I love the color scheme because these type of colors, they call my name for sure. This is the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. And I find that it's a beautiful formula of eyeshadow. Too Faced blew it out of the park with this one. And this is a color scheme that I can use every single day. And it's a formula that I can get behind every single day. If I have to choose a color scheme that will work the most for me on this video, it will be this one. From the 10 eyeshadow palettes, and I love them all, I truly do. Maybe the ultraviolet is the one that's more of a fail for me, but the rest of them, I love them all. I chose them for a reason, and I choose my palettes with a lot of thought. So telling you that this color scheme is my favorite from the 10 eyeshadow palettes, it's no a small feat. I just love this palette. I love it. I love how you can create monochromatic look. I love how you can get a brown smoky eye with this one, a pinky tone. This is a perfect bridal palette. If I were to just be a minimalist from now on, this is one of the palettes that I would keep for my makeup artistry kit as well, or that I would keep for me for every day. It's one of the best purchases that I've made, and I felt the same way when I purchased myself Glam, and that's saying a lot because that's basically my most used palette in my entire collection for my makeup artistry kit, for myself, for everything. It's so beautiful. I think it is missing a black. I would love for it to have a black, but I love it nonetheless a lot. So this one would go on top of the Glam palette. Then the Naughty palette. You know, I say that I don't like purples that much, but I've come to realize that even though I don't love purples, I love mauve tones on my eyes. I adore the way they look. I love the way that they make my eyes look lighter and more yellow. They make me look more expensive than when I wear oranges or warm tones, and I love that about those colors. But they're not purples, they're just mauvey tones, or they have a hint of purple, but It's a different color. It's just a different color, and it's so bridal that, again, these are colors that I can put on my brides, that I can put on my clients, on top of wanting to use them on myself a lot. And the reason why I purchased this palette is because I love the Huda New Nudes, and I hit pan in about 9 shades of that eyeshadow palette, and this was gonna be a sister palette to it, and it was gonna complement it great because it has deeper colors of the same color scheme. I was expecting for this one to be more on the brown tone because I thought these colors right here were gonna pull more brown. A few of them pull a little bit orange, but a lot of them, these light colors, even though they look brown on the pan, the ones that look brown, they have mauve in them too. I wish Huda would come up with a nude palette with really brown neutral colors with the same formulas of shimmery shadows and whatnot, but really brown colors. I would love that, and my kids would love that even more. So I realized that Huda eyeshadows are up there for me with Natasha Denona and with ABH in consistency. Every time I've purchased one, I know that they work beautifully. On the other hand, the Too Faced eyeshadows that I've purchased, they have been good, but they have never been great, except for the Born This Way palette. So yeah, the Naughty palette, since I love the color scheme so much, I truly would have to place it on top of the Glam palette. Even though that color scheme can be a more wearable one, I not always want to wear a more wearable color scheme, or that I look expensive but it looks more wearable in the classic way. I want to have pops of colors, different textures, and this palette gives me this. I'm not in love with that shade because I thought this was gonna make my eyes truly slippery to do an editorial type of eye look, but it doesn't. It's not as slippery as it should be. So if you're not gonna be as slippery, then don't call yourself slippery, and then just don't waste the space on the eyeshadow palette. For me, it wasn't about the look of it because I know that it looks weird, but it could have been great. It could have been a great idea for a makeup artist. The rest of the eyeshadows I love. I love these marbles because you can dip your brush into the lighter shade or the other shade or mix them together. So that gives you 3 other shadows. Same for this one and same for this one. And I've tried it that way and I love it. If you want to see this palette on a 5 looks, 1 palette, tutorial and review and everything, because this is going to be permanent. If you want to try it out, or if you want to see me try it out, showing you 5 completely different looks with a palette that should give you, or should be a one show pony. I don't know if that's how the saying goes, but one show pony. That's going to be my new saying. This is a great palette for that. You can create so many looks with it and I adore it. This is gonna be on top of Glam and then underneath the Born This Way palette. And last but not least, I have here the Trio Chrome palette by Natasha Denona. This one is a colorful palette. I knew that I wanted as soon as I saw it. Even if people were freaking out that the Trio Chromes weren't as crazy as the indie brands, and they were saying that if it were all mattes, it shouldn't be called the Trio Chrome palette and whatnot. I was blown away by the colors of the matte. You have to think about the purchases that you make. If I see all these colors and they're in a matte formula and I don't love mattes, then okay, I wouldn't purchase it. If I love colors that are extremely vibrant, I wouldn't purchase it because even though it has a few vibrant shades, most of the shades here are either softs or pastels or muted tones, and those are my type of shades when I want to wear colors. So this palette is what wearing colorful eyeshadow means to me. This is a wearable colorful eyeshadow palette for me. A rainbow eyeshadow palette is not a wearable color scheme for me. I would never wear those colors in real life. These, on the other hand, if I want to create a lilac-y look all over and then put black liner and mascara, for me that's the beautiful and most easy way to wear a colorful look. Even for the greens, even for the peaches or the purples right here, or this type of green or the yellow, these are colors that I would put all over my lid as a one eyeshadow look, black liner and mascara. And then I could grab one of these middle shades, put them in the center or place them on top of any of these eyeshadows, and it will give it a soft pop and a soft change in color when you turn around. But it wouldn't be so harsh as a triochrome or as a duochrome that, or as a multi-chrome, that you would have to be careful where you place them, because maybe when it was lighter it will get darker and maybe that won't suit your eye shape. For me, this is the easiest colorful palette that I've had, and it's one that I know I will show a lot of love to. And the matte eyeshadow formula from Natasha Denona is chef's kiss. It's so beautiful. And then these colors are beautiful as well. I'm gonna swatch them for you so that you guys can see it on my fingers. You can see them right there, and you can see how they change colors. Maybe you can't see it there, but it's not something super crazy. It can be subtle, but it can look good if you don't like a harsh vibe when it comes to triochromes or duochromes. And they have a beautiful eyeshadow formula. Are they the best that they have in the market? No, maybe they're not the best, but they are beautiful and wearable for me. And for a person that doesn't wear color that much on her eyes, except for mauves, browns, and oranges, this is a great thing, because I've used this a ton already. When you saw me last month wearing a green eyeshadow look, a purple eyeshadow look, they were from this palette. So this makes me more creative and it makes me feel comfortable with color. That being said, this is not the palette that I would use the most from the ones that I have here. For the color scheme, this brings me a lot of joy. So if it was only for the joy thing, this would go maybe on top or underneath the Born This Way, because it brings me a lot of joy. But if I think about the rest of the things, this would go underneath Born This Way, underneath Naughty, underneath Glam, and that's it. I wouldn't put it lower. I wouldn't rank it lower. It's just that good. So let's just do a recap. The first place is for the Born This Way. The second place goes to the Naughty palette. The third place goes to the Natasha Denona Glam. The fourth place goes to the Triochrome by Natasha Denona. Then the Nude Huda Medium palette goes underneath that. Then comes the Amarizi ABH palette. Then the Bronze palette by Natasha Denona. Then the Love palette by Natasha Denona. Then the Laura Mercier Prima Ballerina eyeshadow palette. And then the Urban Decay Naked Ultraviolet. This one would be the only one that I don't love that much in my collection, but I will use it. If you want to see 5 looks, 1 palette with this one, it would be great because I could get to know it better. And maybe I will fall in love with it, or maybe I will remove it from my collection. So that's it, you guys. That's it for this video. Let me know which of the palettes that I have here in my collection are the ones that you love the most. Which ones would you like to see a 5 looks 1 palette? For an emoji today, let's just leave something in relation to the Too Faced Natural Nudes eyeshadow palette, or the Born This Way eyeshadow palette from Too Faced, so that I know that you watched the entire video. And let me know which palettes you got this past year and which one was your favorite. I love you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for answering the polls that I left on the community tab. And that's it. I guess I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.